All right, now let's talk about an up-tempo brush pattern. What would work for brushes at this tempo? Think about it for a second before I show you. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. Now, since we want to create the feeling of time, just like we're playing with sticks, it's about time, what would you do? Well, you wouldn't do try to play that quarter note that fast. It'd be completely ridiculous. You know, it wouldn't swing. It certainly wouldn't feel good to play, and you get tired in about like 2.5 seconds. So you got to be smart. So what are you going to do? Now we're going to go to a half note over here. Before, we remember the ballad, we were playing quarters, and then we went to quarters but sweeping over here. Remember? We did that. Now we're going to go to a half note, and we're going to go to 2 and 4 over here. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. We give our little push on 2 and 4. Just a little push. So we're whispering. 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3. Tighten up your circle. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3. Now, so if your right hand can't go, remember, it's all about the fingers, right? A brush is not going to give you as much rebound. So you kind of have to really have some good control at a fulcrum point to get those. But you don't have to play the jazz ride all the time. You can just play quarters. What is jazz built on? Quarters. The jazz ride is built on quarter notes. It's not built on ding-a-ding, ding-a-ding, ding-a-ding. It's built on ding, 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 right with the bass. The swing note is the accessory note that gives it swing its feel. So I'll just play it with quarter notes. You can hear it still swings like crazy. And every once in a while, you just give a little 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1. Just one of those little things. So you just swing it along, just like you would with sticks, effortlessly. Calm, relaxed, and you do the same thing over here. Left hand. 2, 4, 2, 4, 2, 4. Basic pattern works every single time. So now if you break out of it, you start doing other brush motions, you're going to see me doing a whole bunch of different brush motions. You can steal them, use them, whatever. It just happens naturally for me because I've been playing so long. And it will happen naturally for you too. Just remember, it's about the pattern and about playing time. Brushes never move haphazardly. They have a focus and a point of time in their stroke. If you remember that, you're going to be swinging like nobody's business. Trust me, you can do this. All right, fast brushes, go get them. '78. We're going to mash up a couple of other styles and stick them in the same kind of place and see what happens. One of the big questions I get all the time is, what do I do when I see something like the words jazz mambo? What do you play? Well, because they are very different things. There's jazz and there's a mambo. What are you supposed to do when you put them together? Well, when jazz players play Latin, they kind of make their own interpretation of it, just like everybody makes their own interpretations of the styles that they borrow from. So whether or not it's going to be really swung or straight, that depends on the song and the band. So don't think that there's one jazz mambo. I'm going to show you one version, and I'm going to swing it slightly, just a little bit, just to make it kind of go, so it isn't just totally straight. Here's the pattern. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. How about one with a little bit more swing? What if you were with a band that really wanted to swing it? 1, 2, 1, Amazing how different that feels, isn't it? You tighten up the swing feel, it sounds like almost like a completely different kind of groove. Notice how lightly I'm playing? It's like, you know, if you're playing in a trio, the other Latin stuff that we're going to do is a lot more aggressive. You have to tailor your groove, the parts, and your dynamics to the situation that you're in. A lot of the Groove Essentials music and stuff is really written for you to have fun and so you can really dig in. But say you got to play in a trio, something light, like I'm going to play in right now. You can't play like you're going to play like in some of the grooves coming up in the world section. It would be inappropriate. So you got to lighten up, ease up, use the right parts, use some groove subtraction, because we're talking about groove construction, right? So take some notes out. You can see how a groove like this really, really breathes. So that's a jazz wombo. So we're going to play it in this track right now with the slightest little bit of a swing feel. You can hear the bass kind of swings just a little bit, the piano swinging just a tiny little bit, and so are you. Find that perfect pocket and lay it in. There's no mystery. Just lay it in. And how are you going to know you're doing it right? Record yourself. You will not be able to tell in real time. Record yourself, listen back, and see whether or not you got it. Are you swinging too hard? Are you not swinging at all? Find out. There's only one way to find out. Record yourself. This is a great track. You're going to really enjoy it. Groove 79. This is like a survival skill for fast jazz tempos. This is a dangerous place to go for your right hand. Now, I got a letter from somebody, and I could tell he was almost in tears. He was at a jazz jam session kind of thing, and he was playing this really fast, thing, and he couldn't keep up. And he was wondering what he's going to do. How do I survive in those situations? What do I do? I fell apart. Everybody looked at me like I was, terrible. And it's a really humiliating thing if somebody's playing a tempo and you can't keep up. There's ways to play fast, and I'm going to give you a couple of techniques that are going to help you survive if you get in those situations, especially at jam sessions when 10 tenor saxophones and 47 guitarists come through and they all want to play 10 choruses of Cherokee, and you and the bass player are trying to survive the whole thing, and it could be really rough. So these techniques will help you get through it. Now, you got to remember, what makes jazz go? The quarter note. So you do not need to play all the jazz ride notes. You do not need to do that. You got to stay on the quarter note and accessorize the quarter note with notes that make it swing. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. Does it look like I'm working hard? You got to be calm. I'm just kidding around, of course, but you got to be calm. You got to be totally relaxed. If you've got your right hand, you're going to want to grip the stick hard. You're going to want to. It's human nature. I must play fast. I must grip it harder. No, you don't do that because you're smarter. You will not do that. You will be calm and you will relax. I could do that all day and really not get tired because I'm not forcing the issue. And it swings like crazy. Absolutely swings like crazy. It's a great technique if you find yourself in playing a tempo. You get into a jam session and somebody says, here we go, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, bang, 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 bang. If you try to play all the jazz notes, you're dead. Try to play the jazz right at that tempo, you'll make it for 4 bars, and then that's it. Listen to the greats play fast tempos, and you'll hear how they dance. It's called dancing with the ride beat. So you play the quarter notes as your main focus and accessorize as you go along, and you will survive. I absolutely guarantee it. Speaking of surviving, let's play this track. It's cooking, and so are you, I'm sure. Go get it. Groove 80, and welcome to the world section of Groove Essentials 2.0. We're going to be going all over the place. We'll be doing a lot of specialty grooves this time. We did more world one last time with a couple specialty ones. Now we're going to do a lot of specialty ones in this family with a couple from around the world. And the first stop, Brazil. And a groove we didn't get to on the first poster, and yes, I agree with you all who sent me emails. It's a great groove. One of my favorites, actually, a partido alto. Let's get right to it, okay? So now, in terms of low and high. And the bass drum obviously is low, and the snare is the high. Let's play it against a very simple hi-hat part. All right? 1, 2, 3, 4, and 4 and 1. 4 and 1. 2 and 3, 4 and 1. Now the real deal. Construction, lows, highs, and now what am I doing to modify it to give it a sound that I think is my own? Ghosts and grace. So you can see all the little stuff that's not written in the groove. I'm not going to write you 7 variations of ghost note stuff. That's just silly. You can just experiment until you find the sound that you like. That's a much more musical and independent way of thinking about music instead of just following what somebody else says. You're going to love playing it. 2 tempos, go get them. All right, let's go a little Latin now. We're going to do a guaguancó. This is a great groove, very melodic. You can hear the toms singing the melody. So if it's like here's your beat. Ready? Listen to the tom part. 1, 2. 1, 2. 1 and 2. 1 and 2. 1 and 2. 1 and 2. That's all there is to it. But it's an interesting thing when you're going to play with these tracks. You have to really be committed to the guaguancó figure. The band is going to play intentionally against the grain. They're going to go against that figure. And that's okay. You know, sometimes we don't always just line up with everyone else. I mean, we do a lot of time, probably the majority of the time. That's what makes friction, rhythmic friction. Groove construction, here's another vehicle for you to create grooves. Rhythmic friction, where you intentionally rub against somebody else's rhythm. You're creating a tension, friction. And then you can release that friction by lining up again. There's all sorts of different techniques. So you can stay committed to that guaguancó figure on these tracks, and you'll see what I mean. The band is playing against the figure, and it's cool. It's great. It's just you don't always have to line up. You have to be committed to your part. Don't go with them on this one. You stay on your part. Okay? Here you go. 2 different tempos. lots of requests from people who are wondering what to do when one of the quote-unquote name Latin grooves doesn't work. The people they're playing with are not satisfied. Sometimes an authentic mambo, an authentic sango is too much. You're playing with musicians who aren't used to these rhythms sometimes, and it can throw them off. They can't handle it. So what do? Do you be, a drum jerk and say, well, this is a mambo, you must play a mambo with me, and I am going to play what a mambo is. It says mambo right there on the music, so I must play a mambo. No, you're not going to do that. You're going to be a team player and tone it down. It'll still sound great. Don't get hung up on names. Don't get hung up on names. When you see mambo in a piece of music, and if it doesn't work, make an adjustment. So I'm going to show you something, a little trick. I call this the all-purpose Latin beat. Now, it doesn't have a name. It's not the hippest thing in the world, but it works in so many situations, especially when you're playing with musicians who are not comfortable playing Latin music. Say you're a Latin monster, and they're not. What are you going to do? Be a team player. Let's see this groove. It's the parts of Latin stuff, but we're toning it down. Let's see what happens. 1 and 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. One, two, three, 1, 2, 1. Such a simple little rhythm. And it's not scary to people who aren't used to playing Latin. Now, if you find yourself in a musical, here's the thing. You could be playing a musical or just maybe some kind of Latin rock thing and some kind of a show, a gig. You got to play something. This, a lot of time, a simple toned down Latin kind of thing is just a ticket sometimes. And you are not selling out, and you are not being non-traditionalist. Don't get hung up in that stuff. Do what's right for the music. The music is king. It always will be. Be a good team player. This groove works at lots of different tempos. There are going to be 2 tempos on this one. Not scary, and then really scary fast. And that scary fast one is kind of like a merengue smushed together with mambo and who knows what else. It's the whole kitchen sink. And what's the key to playing fast? What is it? What is it always the key to playing fast? Relax. Calm. If you hold your sticks tight, you're never going to play this groove fast. Pump that baby out. Oh, it's so much fun. And there's like dueling guitars on this track. It's very theatrical and aggressive and macho. Good, Spanish, sounds like the bullfighters coming in. You know what I mean? This is so much fun. Have a good time. So, if you've ever played in a jazz band, if you've ever had to read charts, you're going to find a very interesting thing that happens in the beginning of a chart, where the arranger or the composer will try to explain to you the groove that he or she wants. And if it isn't a traditional groove with a name, like, you know, a classic samba or a mambo or a cha-cha or something, or, you know, just a straight up rock, what they'll do a lot of times is take two words and smush them together. And this is one I've seen quite a few times, and I've gotten emails about what are you supposed to do when you see these two words and 4 slashes, because they're not going to write the groove out for you a lot. They'll just say what they want, and then you're expected to make a groove up that conveys those words. And these two words that we're going to talk about today are funk samba. A funk samba. Think about that for a second. So you think about a samba, right? Okay, remember from the original Groove Essentials, we did that already. At all sorts of different tempos. So we learned what a samba is. Now you think about like just straight up funk. You know, just like down home dry funk, you know, just nothing fancy. Think about those two things. Then you smush them together. What are you supposed to do? Well, I picked this groove up a long time ago when I was coming up, and I'd like to dedicate it to his memory. This is from a drummer who we lost way too soon. His name was Carlos Vega, based on the West Coast, who was doing all sorts of great records. And when I was practicing a lot, especially in the 1980s, I was, you know, really just buying every record I could find with this guy on it. And he played a groove like this, not exactly like this, but it was definitely inspired by his playing, because then I had to play the same song. And I saw at the top of the chart it was called a funk samba. And I thought, how brilliant is Carlos Vega to come up with a groove like this? And I wondered if I could have done it. So it was great training to get my mind wrapped around that whole letting go of names thing. You know, don't get locked into that little box. So here's this groove, and it's all about the hi-hat and how on the second half of the bar it opens gently and you get that flowing S sound that only a hi-hat can provide. Let's see what it sounds like. 1, 2, 3, ah. So we'd like to dedicate this to the great work of Carlos Vega. This is a funk samba. You guys are going to love playing it. Have fun. Groove 84, let's smush up a couple of other things again and see what comes out. Now, in the first Groove Essentials DVD, we took a 6/8 kind of African thing called the Nanyago, which is kind of like this. That kind of thing. And now what happens if you have to play something like that, but it's like a 6/8 kind of funky thing? So you see where we could take like a halftime backbeat and combine it with a more African kind of bell. Now, the hands are going to just flow through, connect all the dots, and this is what it sounds like. 1, 2, ready, go. See how I'm varying the bass drum? I'm not sticking to one bass drum part. It isn't like, you know, this rigid pattern. You're playing this really cool thing. It's just the hands are here. I'll play it on a cowbell so you can hear the difference. All those notes you're playing with the right hand are fair game to accent with the bass drum. Or not. It's all good. You just make stuff up. Ghosts, grace, all things in the middle, it's all part of the vibe. So then you can really just get into variations and let it all hang out. And you'll see that on this next one. This one's like really high energy, lots of big tom fills. You can hit the cymbals hard, not stupid hard, but you know what I mean. You can really dig in. You're noticing as I'm playing these grooves on the fast one, if the band is kicking butt, then so am I. I'm rising to their level. Actually, I'm trying to even lead them. So if I feel like that there's energy in the track, if I feel like the band is really digging in, then I'm digging in too. So you're going to really dig in on this one. Have fun.